Good evening, Danika. Danikah Rose. I'm sorry, I should know better because I'm Lynn Louise. So
I love
you're
it.
on mute.
Good morning. Good morning. And yes, it is evening where I am in the world. Although we're on opposite sides, we make it work.
I know I have quite a few people from Australia that I do this with and around the world. So I get it. I um I have a colleague, let's call us, right, in Sydney. And last time she was like up at 5 a.m. and I was like in my evening. Sophia, she used to be one of my coaches, and she was used to seeing me coming to masterminds in my robe. So we switched roles. I'm excited. I've been so excited for this conversation. It has been a long time coming.
And
So,
thank you for having me. Thank you. It's always nice when you get that really strong invitation as well. Some people can be quite passive, or they like to delegate that task to their VAs, or they don't have that same personal touch. So it's always, intimacy is such a huge value of mine. So I always appreciate it when it's the person that I'm speaking with in the DMs, it's the same person writing the content, the same person on the podcast. Like it's so fun. And
right.
I think I kind of have like similar, I would say similar ways that I run my podcast as well, because it needs to be have that level of intimacy. I just love it.
Yeah. And, there's, even though the coaching industry is quite large, it still is a small world at times, isn't it? Because we've known each other for so long and we've been trying to do this, but our schedules were always so opposite. But I'm so excited because I also see in us a very similar passion and drive and um, controversial sass, so to speak, like speaking against the system that has been developed for decades, that just no longer applies. And I'm really excited to dive into this. I'm going to have you introduce yourself, but um, I always am curious about your marketing approaches and your beliefs around it and all that good stuff. Y'all, she is just as cosmic as me. So I'm really excited to dig into this. Just go ahead and share like who you are, who you serve, what you do, and then let's get into the meat of this.
Amazing. So a little bit about the alien in me. I know that I'm a hybrid. I've had a light language gift since I was a young child. So I've been channeling, and I was indoctrinated into religion growing up for a good portion of that young, like under 10-year-old childhood. And that was kind of interesting because to date, my mom is probably one of the more supportive people in my life when it came to the journey of my spirituality evolving. And whereas that sort of started in this church scene, we'd go and my mom was a singer and I would play in the band and then I'd be healing people and people are like, "Oh, that did something. That was different. I've never felt like that before." Of course, we just passed it off as, yes, the glory of God, that's amazing. We're connected to God's healing power and I still believe that, but and now as I'm understanding as a lifetime psychic, having delved into mediumship, past life regressions, exorcisms, like entity clearing of spaces, you get into all of the energetics of it and realize it's just transmutation in whichever form that shows up in that moment for that person or animal or spirit baby or whoever we're connecting with. And so that's where the more spiritual side of my work lies, through my voice, my sound healings, meditations, and intuitively led scripting. So that's like the soul side. And then on the strategy side, because I've spent my entire life running businesses as a manager, marketing expert, growing my own as well, growing out franchises and helping CEOs doing consulting, especially in hospitality industry, but multi-industry. I pretty much, wow, this is actually like a huge intro because I had to eventually blend the two, and how that came about, like the psychic strategist, which is consulting and advisory work in the business blueprint side, is like I had a near death experience. I created this massive Instagram community full of twin flame channeled messages and full moon readings and all of this stuff, non monetized. non-strategic, completely in flow, 2 a.m. in the morning, crying my eyes out, writing all these twin flame poetries and da da da. And one day, the universe, God, creator was like, I'm just going to take that away from you now. I got hacked, lost the entire community overnight. And this happened 2 years and 2 months ago. And that's when this business was birthed. The Danikah Rose creative brand was birthed exactly 2 years ago in the beginning of July. And it needed to happen. It needed to have me awaken to the fact that I'd spent the last 16 years growing people's businesses and doing marketing, yet I'd been psychically channeling and I'd been intuitively leading CEOs through all of their pain points and la 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 la. And so now it's just that's who I am. It's always who I've been. I just wasn't doing it in a strategic way to reach more people and to help more people.
I love it. And you had built, okay, so I have a question. First off, I want to know what twin flames means to you, because I know there's that documentary of that cult, and I never have, I don't really know what that twin flames means to people. It's not in my vocabulary. So tell me what that means.
I love it. For me, it means that there is a divine counterpart that is a frequency match. That's my basic breakdown of that concept.
Oh, okay. I like that. I like that
Yeah.
attachment. Because I
So
know that it's gotten a lot of bad press because of that awful cult that's located in the United States. But that makes sense, because I've always been like, is that a person? Is it so good? Okay. So I love that you come from a marketing background, and we both are like super cosmic and into a lot of the similar stuff. I obviously am not a marketing expert. That's not my niche. So I have all these yummy questions for you, because I know we're in cycle 9 in Chinese astrology. Some call it the age of Aquarius. I like to call it that because I'm an Aquarius.
own it, girl.
Of course. So I like to
Yes.
call it that. And like in human design, I'm like manifesting generator 6-3, and I am like revolution. Like that is what I am. So like this is the time that I came to earth for. I'm here for this moment. So I get so excited to talk about, and on these conversations, I like to talk about things that we might be witnessing in our industry that they're doing wrong, or that they're not talking about, that they should be talking about. And I see a lot of this ability to transform the way that we show up and the way that we market things. And I want to ask you, like, what are you seeing that's wrong in the marketing, like your industry specifically, like what you see other marketing coaches, maybe bro coaches in marketing, or what they're doing that no longer is satisfying the clientels, or what they're not getting the results that they want, or what are they not talking about that should be talked about more?
It's such a big answer to such a simple question. And the way that I love to differentiate these, and I speak into frequencies quite a bit, it's really, let's read the room, let's check the energy of the collective, let's have a look at the marketing landscape. And other people might call this analysis, it could be market research. It doesn't matter really what words we're using, it's about the intention that we're setting. And so I go about to set intentions in my spaces that really focus on neutrality and embodiment. And behind that would also probably be confidence. And because even as I speak into this, I'm just channeling, I don't script. I'm not going to write dot points about my answers to questions for you. Like that's just, it's got to come from my heart. And so I have to speak in an empowered way, and not for the sake of, yes, everybody needs to believe what I believe and I'm right and you're wrong. It's very neutral. And the differentiator here is that there are older frequencies, the old paradigm way, this 3D marketing, the bro marketing, and then there's a new paradigm marketing wave that has already started. And you'll notice that momentum is really kicking up. That's our 6 lines. We're out here advocating for what everybody else has been talking about. People are, stirring, they're murmuring, they've been having whispers of these concepts within industries, but they're not quite there to have the tangible action, which is where women like you and I come in. I'm a projector 4/6. So I'm very much in that. What is the practical application for people to not only understand and know about the changes that need to be made, but what do we actually do? What are the things to take the next step? And that's what people are not talking about. They are happy to say, we need to do this better, we need ethics, we need integrity, but they're not giving a step-by-step direction on what that actually looks like, even if it's embodied within that CEO's business, or they may have practices on their back end where they've been doing that for months or years, or that's who they are innately because they've embodied that frequency. But then they're going out and just preaching it with these very, oh, la-di-da, ba-ba, da-da. And I'm like, that all looks freaking fantastic, but people need actionable, tangible steps. They need practical application.
Ooh, okay. So I have a couple questions. So I know that there's all these really wonderful women that are great at marketing themselves, and then when people get in there, they can't coach them. Like they're not good coaches. I see this running rampant, and I get it. Like there's just a lot of people that can sell themselves really well, or they've really done good at the marketing aspect. But when it comes to teaching it, or not even teaching marketing, but just teaching people in general, they fall short of that. And is that part of this? They are implementing it in their own life, even if it's just like a life coach. They might be great at marketing, they're implementing it in their own life, but they're not refining their ability to teach it and implement it and help others along this way. Is that what you're meaning?
I think yes and no. A lot of the time I'm speaking into business to business,
Okay.
and I'll also speak into content creation in general. So when we say people are, yes, I hear you, because yes, I am meaning that also.
Okay.
It's both and, yes. And so if I backtrack a little bit, when I say they're happy to talk about integrity or ethics, that might be leaders like us. We're leaders, we have these massive thousands of people in our community, and they're looking to us for tips and tricks in regards to business. If we want to flip that, and let's say someone's a healer and they're like, I am the only modality, I am the only one that does this, I have trademarked this energy and you will follow me, and there's a certification at the end of it. And so they've created this multi-7-figure business. And the story there is, and you can too. That's the selling point. I have 10K, 20K, 50K months, and you can too. I do XYZ, blah, 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 and you can too. And that is not always true. That is marketable. That is something that's easy to sell because there's a tangible result that they're speaking into that result. But it's not always true, which is what you're kind of talking about. The next step and the result of this issue is that people get into these containers and they think they can too. And they're like, well, why can't I? Oh, well, it's your energy. So now I'm going to manipulate you and you're going to pay me again. And then you're going to hang around. And then, oh, it's your strategy. Oh, and then this is why, and da, da, da. And so then what they then preach is, oh, we retain our clients, we have monthly recurring revenue. And then I'm like, okay, let's just rewind. All of this is based on a frequency where that client is now codependent on you, your advice, your everything outside of themselves to come to the conclusions that their intuition already knows, and they have no way of getting out of that cookie cutter program. They have contracts that they're now bound to with their income, that's, expenses go up and so on. We could ramble off a laundry list of issues that are the result. And yes, one of them is that although you might have done that with your business, it doesn't necessarily mean that the next best step is for you to then start trying to scale your business by teaching that to other people. That is not where it needs to always end up. And that is a pattern that we have been seeing in the last 10 years in this industry.
You are speaking my language, and I know you know this because I'm always about reclaiming your personal power. And the moment somebody says in my mastermind that, oh my God, they lay the success or transformation that they're having on me, I'm like, oh, no, 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 none of that. This is not hero worshiping. It's a method. You're the one that's creating it, not me. Like, never. I totally understand what you're saying because I have myself spent big money on masterminds, and then I get into them and there's no practical application. They're like, everyone, they're like, you have to be making this much to get in here.
To
And then they've
qualify. Yeah.
fallen out of
Mhm.
integrity, and the people I'm sitting around aren't even making any money in their business. And so I do see this disconnect with integrity, because I'm big on that. The 4 agreements, man, that's like that. I'm strong on that. But
Baseline,
integrity,
baseline.
right? Like that's where we start.
Yeah.
And then the just truthfulness, like
The
being
ethics.
honest and
Mhm.
trustworthy. And I get like we can teach methods, but they have to be adaptable and created. I tell my husband's a chef, and I say this to my platform all the time that business building or any dream that you have is not about following a recipe. It's about developing one.
Yeah.
And you get the ingredients and then you blend them together in the proportions that you desire and fit your palate. So I totally get it. And then I hear you saying like, and when you were talking about it, of course, there's specific men that are making billions that come to mind, but this dependency and this trap that occurs inside the program where you're building debt instead of income. And it's like this vicious circle. And then you have resentment and you don't know, like, what am I supposed to do now? And I hear this all the time. Like, I've spent 30K on programs and I'm still not having the success that I desire.
Yeah, literally like 90% of the people that have ever come to me to fix up whatever's been happening. And this is a
Mhm.
why there are the people that are at the forefront right now, the leaders of this new paradigm business wave, people that are coming through to repair the damage that's been done, to recorrect and put us on the course and put us on a different path now. And it's not right or wrong or less than or better than. We're not making a comparison here aside from you can choose in your sovereignty, whichever one you want. It's got nothing to do with me. It is not my business. But what is my business is that I'm here to diligently serve in devotion to my mission the people that are also here to create that new wave. And I'm not going to stop at anything less than that because I have that standard. It doesn't mean that I have any expectation whatsoever that other people are going to meet it, but I will be sure that I'm going to educate. I'm going to speak into it. I'm passionate about it. I'm going to talk about it. I'm not going to shut up about it. I've been told to shut up about it multiple times over the years, right? And that's just
Yeah.
something that we go through. It's paradoxal. We're like, y'all want change, and then you're going to complain about it, but you're then going to sit there for 15 years and come at me because I'm the new kid on the block. It doesn't get to be like that. You can come to me and say, well, like, I agree with you, but I don't need to speak into this because that would waste my energy. And I'm like, great. Well, I've got all the energy in the world to invest in this. So you do you, and I'm going to do me. And I'm just going to keep on going.
I love it. I get the trolls. I know what it's like because this is the one thing that we need to do in marketing, right? We need to be polarizing. Okay, this makes me think of another question, but before I do that, I want to ask you, what do you mean by neutralize? We need to be neutralized.
Mm, neutrality. Oh, wow. I love this topic so much. There's real heightened emotion or high frequencies and low frequencies. And so when we attune to neutrality, it's that we can just accept and love everything for however it is, and that it doesn't become a story about us or them or anything. It is what it is. And it's a
Okay.
very I don't care kind of frequency, but it's detachment at its finest, at its peak, at its almost nothingness, and it's everything all at the same time. And to me, that's neutrality.
Oh, that makes sense. So then that goes with perfectly with the next question. Because we all have our own journey in this life, and I get told often, and we were raised this way, my generation, is that you never talk about money in politics. And here's the thing, not talking about money for so long dragged me into one of the deepest life-threatening situations that I'd ever been in, because I was not talking about it. I was not processing my terror around money or being broke at one point. Like, it just kept compiling, and I ended up in emergency surgery. Like, it literally, because of my stress level, was killing me. And so first off, I had to get over not talking about money. So I talk about it all the time because it didn't matter. I had shit tons of money in the bank, and I was still like, what happens if I lose it? What happens? Like, every day I would check my bank account several times. I would look, it was just terrible. So I had to get over that. But I also um have always, as an Aquarius and a manifesting generator 6-3, I'm a humanitarian on the upteenth level. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about what I do, and why I am so passionate about my business and building women up, because I know that it's contagious. When we lift our frequency around finances, we're able, it's just contagious because it lifts our entire self-worth and all that. But so I'm a humanitarian, and everything that's going on in the world, I speak out about it. I speak out about like blood diamonds, genocides, our election this year, like all that shit. And I will get coaches telling me that I shouldn't be talking about it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to shut up about it. So when you were talking about, neutrality and all that, I was like, is she talking about in the messaging? And since you're not, I'm curious about, because I know you're really into authenticity. What is your opinion or viewpoint when it comes to sharing your personal beliefs and because social media is social media, right? In your marketing, my accounts are very much business oriented, but what's your opinion on sharing personal perspectives and opinions?
I'm gonna answer the question with a question. And this is one that anybody listening and even for you can ponder. And I feel it's very fitting. Who would you rather and who would you like to spend the most amount of time with when you are investing energy into people and into them growing and developing their consciousness, their wealth, their legacy, their businesses, their healing, whatever you're helping them with, their modalities? Whoever's listening, I'm so sure that whatever your niche is, whoever you serve, who is the type of that person that you would like to serve? Because I know personally, I wouldn't like to serve somebody that didn't care about being authentic. Somebody, for example, who uses filters on every single thing that they post on social media. That person is not for me. And so let's use that just as a random example, and no judgment. Again, it's not my business, but it is my business to show up with no makeup. And sometimes I might have a mum life. I've got 4 kids, might have a scruffy looking face, but I'm okay with that. And so if somebody that's coming for superficiality, or they're coming for a filtered life, or they're coming in to me then helping them with their content, it's a misalignment for me. That's not a relationship that I would then be able to strategize and invest in with my fullness of who I am as a business strategist to help that person. And so when I'm posting and they come to me and they say, wow, this chick never dresses up, does she not care about her appearance? Does she not worry about what other people think of her? She should be using filters. My God, look at her bags under her eyes today. So whatever they think, again, it's none of my business, but they're not going to hire me if I'm presenting in a way that disturbs their peace or causes them disruption. Whether it's a distortion or not, whether they're being judgmental or not, I don't really care. If they're not happy to be around what I'm sharing, what I'm passionate about, what kind of deep conversations we would get into in between our client work and whatever else pops up within the container, not that I love that word, but within the containment of that sacred space that we hold together in co-creation, they would need to come in with a certain level of understanding that if I'm an expert at something and I'm giving you strategy or I'm giving you opinion about something that I know, there needs to be that certain frequency of trust. So if they don't trust that they can separate that and they don't have that emotional maturity, they're not for me. If they come to me and they're not in self-leadership of their opinions or their judgments, they're not for me. If they're coming to me and they have no idea about being neutral and their emotions get piqued and they're triggered every time they read something about whatever I'm saying, then they're not for me. It is not about having everybody agree with me. What it is about is that they can trust that I know who I am and what I say. So when I read other people's content and they're polarizing, of course I'm psychic, so I can pick up on whether they're doing it just to have a dig. If they're forcing themselves to be polarizing to get reach, it's pretty bloody obvious.
Right.
But but if it's embodied and that's actually their opinion, well done. Shout it louder. Stand up for yourself, for your beliefs, for what you think, for how you are. And I will love you regardless, because that's what we're here to do, to accept and to love, and not look at polarizing as in, oh, that's this, that, da, da, da. I'm not even going to go and say all the negative, judgy words that people can say. What's the point? It's not my business.
I love that you bring that up. And one of the reasons why I go ahead and talk about these things, one, because that's what I'm here to do anyway, is to talk about these global issues. But also in the past, like many years ago, I attracted somebody who was so not in alignment to who I am that I was like, oh, yeah, I need to show more of who I am. And that was the moment that I stopped wearing suits, that I stopped showing up as that corporate executive, and I started showing myself dirty fingernails from the garden, after a run, sweaty, and all those things. And since then, here's who I am. But I love that you bring up, like, I don't judge somebody for wanting to vote for a candidate that I'm not supporting in our general election. Like, I have relatives that voted for somebody that I stand completely against, but that's not going to make me dislike them or not love them. And I know that this happens all the time, where where families separate because they don't like who somebody's voting for. And I'm like,
And
well,
I mean, it's like the same agenda that plays out. If we want to talk about the matrix and the programming and how it's always been, it's upper class, middle class, lower class. It's you believe in this religion, I believe in that one. This indoctrination of separation. That's all it is. It's that simple. And if you can see past that veil, then you're miles ahead of people who still think that this is about jab or no jab, or this politician or that politician, or that war or that war. It's like we don't actually get a lot of choice when it comes to these global issues, because all of it is planned.
yeah.
And so what we do have a choice in is how we respond as opposed to how we react. And when that reaction is abrasive and we're hating and we're judging and we're separate, we're doing exactly what we've been trained to do when we are in that frequency of separation.
Oh, I love that. It's all conditioning, every single bit of it. Yeah.
It's a bit sickening. Sometimes I just think, what kind of world are we actually in? And then I constantly remind myself that my mind knows that, and my mind thinks that, my human does. But my soul is like, you are here to change. You are here to show. You are here to teach. You are here to speak into it, to tell people that it's about love, not hate. And that's the simplicity of it. And there's a lot of nuance and a lot of things and mishmash layers that go in between all of that crap. But that's really it. That's the juxtaposition.
The bigger picture. That's
Yeah.
the consciousness, right? Is taking the thinking out of it and working from intuition and being able to see like what the bigger picture is. And I'm always telling my clients, like, you fought to be here for this time. This time that's happening right now on the global scheme, the cycle 9, the chaos, the disruption, and things globally will get worse before they get better. And you're here to help the people of this world through that time that are willing to make that change. And it's hard. But when you can see the bigger picture and what it does, what it means, not only for us as a society, but also like we are the ancestors, right? 7 generations out. So what are you doing right now to set it up for those generations to come that's going to like empower the women to be back on that throne? Like my big mission is to help us take back the throne that we were written off of by men 3,500 years ago, not to displace them, but to restore that balance. And I'm like, so what are we doing now in this moment? What am I doing now? What is my role in this? And standing in that, knowing that, yeah, this is fucking hard sometimes. Like life isn't always puppies and rainbows, but the bigger picture. Because I know once I leave this, it's not the end, right? It's not the end for me. It's not the end for the world. So how can I be one of those ancestors that people can be like, look at all the things that they did for us to set us on this road, like to bring us through it. Like I think about, we look at strong women in our past, what they have done to lay the groundwork generations before. Harriet Tubman, people that are just
Yeah, and it's so
fantastic.
much. And if we really think about it, like in 2 or 3 generations time, they may never speak these names. They may never speak my
Mm-mm.
name. But
No,
that's
and it's
not
not about
my
me as an
point.
individual,
It's
right? It's
right.
about us
And
as
it's
an ancestor.
a collective. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it really is the reality is that all of this will be forgotten. But the frequencies and the consequences and the results of every action that we take now, it is actually important. And it might take 15, 20, 30, 40, 60 set. I don't care how long it takes.
right.
But the fact is that my children that I'm raising, the women that you're empowering, the people that are around us, they are getting affected by the integrations that we go through, the conversations that we choose to have, and your leadership and your authenticity is attracting and repelling. And that is the point of polarizing content. If we go back to that messaging topic, and I just want to accentuate that point. It's not about forcing yourself to ask yourself a question. And please, if you're doing a masterclass and someone says, sit there and have a think about what you disagree with, that's not what polarizing content in an embodied, authentic way actually is. If you were really speaking your truth, you wouldn't have to sit there and ask yourself that question and write 5 things down and then structure your posts around it. If you can get into a real solid place about who I am and who I am speaking to, who am I serving, and what is my impact that I'm creating, those are the questions, because although they're outside of yourself, they're about how you're serving other people. They're not about you. This isn't about me.
Exactly. It's
Like,
not
it's
about
not
me. Like,
about me.
I love that because I'm like, I already have the success. This is about helping you like step into your personal power and really live your purpose. A lot of people, higher purpose, whatever you want to call it, but like in alignment to what you're here to do. And that's fulfillment,
Yeah.
right?
And I think in the messaging and in the marketing, if people can speak to the transformation for the clients and lead them to this empowered, embodied, elevated, evolved state of thinking, through this emotional connection, through speaking to the direct results, the tangibility of their offers, they're going to see a lot more traction in the way that people are uptaking into their and converting into their sessions, into their offers, into their courses, just buying digitally. We're no longer focusing on this, the pain point, the tragedy. I know you feel like wop, 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 mini violin on the shoulder. We're not there anymore because people are sick and freaking tired of feeling sorry for themselves. They're sick and tired of thinking the thoughts, something's wrong with me. I'm out of alignment. I'm so confused. They don't want to think like that anymore. So when I say we speak to the solution vibration, that's what I mean. You don't need to bang on the old drum to be relatable and so that people trust that you're the person that can solve their problem because you poked all their pain points. That is so not it anymore. And I really hope that people can take inspiration from what I'm saying and understand that it's okay if there are still people that are on that frequency, but the more you focus on the people that are like a step above that, they are the people that can serve those people. It's no longer you anymore. If you're listening to this already, I can almost guarantee that you're sitting there going, oh man, because you know that you have to step up in your leadership today, right freaking now, because you know that you've been led to listen to this all the way to the very end as we're wrapping up this podcast episode, that I'm sitting here giving you a mini lecture in my projector ranting style. And I'm like, get on this train. Like, if you're listening to this, get on the train because we are off. The station is well and truly catching up. This literally like doesn't even make any sense anymore. Even what I just said was all mumble jumble because that's how it is. We're fractals. We're splitting here. We're splitting the hairs. And if you're not a part of that process, then you're still going to be the one that then starts having to just listen to the old bro marketing and the pain points. And you'll be in your victim mindset and the scarcity and the whole, woe is me. What have I done wrong? I'm so terrible. And we're shaming and blaming ourselves. And so if you're sitting there and that starts to feel like, oh yeah, far out, just breathe. Accept where you're at and know that there are people that are ascending in this frequency and they're going to start marketing in a different way. And if that doesn't appeal to you, that's okay too. But you've got to find that edge, find the edge of that comfort zone and just jump, just take the leap.
It's always uncomfortable because we're always growing. And my audience is very cosmic and expansive. And I'm always saying, like, there are people that help those people that are really in lack and scarcity and struggle. That's not you. You want to work with people that are like already to the awareness stage, that are already wanting out of their daily circumstances. You don't want to be working with people that are like fighting tooth and nail for their limitations. And I really think that that's it. Speak to the hope, speak to the transformation, speak to the tangible outcomes. And it doesn't have to be cookie cutter.
Because, people will tell us that we're wrong for saying that. And they're going to say, but what about those people? Those people, that frequency, that mindset will become a minority and a minority, and it will reduce and it will reduce because people will have no other choice but to step up. And that is the entire point of us spreading this message, that the leaders become leaders of other leaders who then lead other people who are leading themselves. And eventually they just have no choice.
I love it. That's so exciting. Well, I know it's getting late, so let's get you to bed.
Yay.
I'm going to add a link in the description here of how people can connect with you. Is there one way that you really prefer them to get in touch with you or join?
I'm kind of obsessed with DMs. That's my main strongest call to action. I'm like, just message me.
Okay, I love that too. I will
like, just DM me.
So we'll put the link to your social media and then people can follow, can friend, can DM and all the goodness. Thank you
you
so
know,
much
I've
for
got
being on here. Yeah.
my Facebook group is probably like the community, and then the podcast and the membership and all of that is
Okay.
kind of available just on that one profile. So
Okay. So
that's easy.
we'll just add your Facebook group and then they can friend you from there, do whatever they need to do.
So cool.
Perfect. And
Thanks.
this was so much fun. Thank you so much for staying up late for me.
Oh, my pleasure. I hope everybody loved it too. I know we always get into the goods. Your questions are so cool.
We like to get into the dirt. I know they'll love it. So you have a good evening, hun.
See ya.